everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody for the Sonshine Stamp Company design team. Today I'm actually doing a 12 by 12 layout. I'm trying to mix it up and use the stamps in different ways. That way you can see a variety of different things that I like to do with stamps and hopefully inspire you to try a couple different things as well. So today I'm actually going to use the stamps to make a statement title, and I'm going to use the large alpha stamps, the Kate's Hand stamps. If you haven't noticed by my last couple of layouts or projects for the Sonshine Stamp Company, this is by far my favorite stamp set in the shop, and I love trying to use it a couple different ways. So first, I'm trimming out my photo and kind of creating a simple layout design in my head. I pulled out my little stash of borders, and I just keep all the little borders, whether they're paper strips that are left from a 12 by 12 paper or they're the manufacturer strips off of a paper, whatever it is. I keep all these borders in a little, like, I guess it's about 4 by 12 pocket that I made. So I pulled out 3 here. One is a sassafras manufacturer strip. As you can see, that's the scalloped looking one, and these other 2 are just from random papers that I don't remember. So obviously, first of all, I should have put the sassafras one down since I need the other one to layer on top of it. But I figured that out. Sometimes I struggle. Sometimes I just don't think through things, which is kind of ridiculous, but you know, hey, some things aren't perfect, and this is definitely one of those that it's not perfect. So I just have my 3 little borders lined up here at the bottom, and it's going to be my little grounding point for both my title as well as my photo. I'm going to use the Celebrate stamp from the Celebrate stamp set. Funny enough, it's actually named Celebrate, and that's the one that has like hooray, it has some balloons, it has some banner stamps, things like that on there. I really like that stamp set. It's a really good one for birthdays. I think that'd be a really fun one to work with. Then I'm going to use the word "the," and that's actually from the Daughter of the King stamp set. And then I'm going to pull out my Kate's Hand stamp set here, and I was trying to decide whether I wanted to stamp this on some pattern paper, which is why I pulled out my little scrap bin of pattern paper, or if I wanted to stamp it on white cardstock. So I pulled out just some scrap paper first. Sometimes I'll use the back side of a single-sided pattern paper to use up some scraps, but I didn't like it because it was not a true white, so I just pulled out some white scrap cardstock that I have sitting around my desk for instances just like this. My title is going to be Celebrate the Big Boy Bike, and so I am stamping out all the words, or not the words, all the letters I need for the rest of the title, which is Big Boy Bike. And this stamp set, as I have mentioned, I think every time I've used it, is a really nice size. It's also nice and simple. It's not too intricate, so it's easy to trim it out. Now, I love fussy cutting, and a lot of people don't, but the way that these alphas are designed, they have a lot of very simple lines and a few curves. So it's actually pretty easy to trim these out, even if you're not into fussy cutting. And I like to leave a white border around the stamp. That way, you know, the imperfections are not as easily seen because you know there's supposed to be a white border. Whereas if you're trying to trim it exactly, it's very noticeable when something's not trimmed exactly. So leaving a white border gives you a little bit of wiggle room to be imperfect, and we all need that wiggle room to be a little bit imperfect sometimes. So I'm just going to take the time and cut these out. Again, I like this type of thing. I enjoy fussy cutting, but it's not terrible. These are actually really easy, and I'm not even going to cut out the inside of the letters. So the way I'm using my stamps on this particular layout is to make a statement title. So I wanted a title that was going to be very bold, very distinguishable on the layout, no question whatsoever what the title is. It is, even if you just said the title was Big Boy Bike, that would be totally fine. The full title that I intended is Celebrate the Big Boy Bike, but Big Boy Bike is truly the statement title on the page. It's very noticeable. It's not busy by any means because I chose the white cardstock as my background for the stamps, but it is definitely a statement. There's no way you can look at this layout and not see that. That's actually probably the first thing you see other than the photo. And that's exactly what I intended. I wanted to have that statement title here on this layout. Now, you could glue these down very easily with some wet adhesive or even just your tape runner, but because some of the letters are a little bit skinnier, like the E's and the I's, I decided to go ahead and use my sticker maker. I have a Brother sticker maker. It's old. I got it from one of those daily deal sites, but you can use a Xyron sticker maker. You can use a number of different types of the same type of product that are out there. I just happen to have an older one in my tool stash, so I always use that whenever I'm doing this type of thing. In the spirit of stamping, I decided to go ahead and pull out my Planner Basics stamp set from Sonshine Stamp Company, and I decided just to go ahead and stamp out a few different banners, primarily this one that has the hearts. I will stamp out one that is just the open banner near the end to do a little bit of journaling in, but for the most part I decided to use these heart ones, and I'm stamping it just on small little bits of pattern paper that I have in my stash. I have this pink pattern paper, and it's actually the packaging from an old LA Studio order I had. And then I had a teal colored one and then a gray and white printed one as well. So those are what I'm stamping out here. Now I'm not going to use all three up here at the top. I will use the blue one down near the bottom, or the teal one now down near the bottom. I tried to layer all three at the top, but it started to look a little busy because I'm going to layer this on top of a piece of a tag. So this layout's fairly simple. But I really like the way that it came out. I personally gravitate sometimes to more simple layouts because I feel like it's easier on the eye. I love embellishments, and I make sure that I embellish my layouts to the extent that I find nice, I suppose you could say. But I try to keep it not insanely busy because my eye gets a bit confused sometimes when there's too much going on. I have a hard time focusing on, the main purpose of the layout when there's just a little bit more than normal going on in the background. So I wanted to keep this layout, like I said, fairly simple. So I pulled out a few sticker sheets from my stash. I pulled out an Echo Park one, which is this red accents one that you kind of see sticking out. That's that red one that says Red Hot. And I also pulled out a We Are Memory Keepers archived collection, and I just pulled out the words, the little word sticker sheet part of it. It was on a different sticker sheet, but I just pulled out the words. And this is where I'm using my sticker maker, and I just trace around the edges to get the adhesive off the edges before I pull it off. And then I pulled out a Bella Boulevard Super Stud sticker sheet as well. I think those are all the sticker sheets that I pulled out more than that, but I think those are all the sticker sheets that I actually end up using. And you can kind of see those sitting there. I'm going to use my ruler to line this up somewhat. It doesn't have to be exact. I just needed a little bit of a guide. The diagonal-ish hash marks that are on the background paper here made it a little bit confusing. I kept thinking things were straight and they were not. So having my ruler here at the bottom that I just line up helps me out. By the way, this background paper is actually from a Memento page kit. You probably saw it at the very beginning, just kind of the corner of it. It's just a pattern paper from that kit. It's a single-sided pattern paper, and I will actually layer this on top of some white cardstock later, and I'll use it as a little bit of a border around three sides of the layout. I'm pulling out, as I mentioned, these sticker sheets to see what else I can add. So I've got some major color schemes going on here. I have the teal obviously in the background. I have the white and the black from the stamping. And then I have a few little pops of navy blue as well as gray, as well as a very small little pop of pink up there. So I'm finding a few different stickers that kind of help accent those things. I use the navy photo corners on the photo itself from that Super Stud sticker sheet. I also used a teal arrow from that one sticker sheet, as well as this smile label from another one that has the black as well. So I'm pulling in those colors very lightly across the different layers that I have going on here. Also, to keep it along that simple path that I was going, I just pull out some little scrap pieces of vellum and layer them behind my photo. That way I'm not introducing a new color, but it does kind of help the photo stand out a bit. And I really like those navy photo corners. I think that just adds something to that photo without detracting from that photo at all. I have a lot of blank space. It's not really white space, but a lot of blank space in the photo. It's just a picture of Kalen in a parking lot right after we purchased his new bike at Dick's Sporting Goods. So he actually rode it to the car from the store. So that's what this photo was taken, or how this photo was taken. That navy star sticker at the top is not going to stay there. I wanted to pull a little bit of the navy up at the top, but it looked too forced, so I'm going to end up taking that off and not using that. But I do have a few other little embellishment clusters, and by putting that navy at the top, you can see here I keep feeling like I need a little bit of the navy at the bottom because I put it to the top, but very quickly I decided I don't like the way that looks. So I take off those navy pieces, and now all the navy is centralized. It's around the photo and on that border strip area. I also thought about using these two stickers, one that says boys rule, I think is what it says. And then the other one was a dude sticker down here at the bottom to bring out a bit of that red. But I just didn't like the introduction of the new color of red. So I'm sticking with how I had it. As you can see, I cut a little bit of that teal banner off and added it over there by the big boy bike. And then I also brought in that arrow, that black and white polka dot arrow as well. So this layout's looking really good to me. I feel like it just needs a few small little bits of things. So I'm going to kind of play around with some bordering here. It just felt like just slightly incomplete. And when I find that something looks a little bit incomplete to me, I feel like that's when I need to look at adding a border. So I'm going to cut off a very small sliver, probably less than 1/8 of an inch, off of 3 sides, the top, the bottom, and then the left side. And I'm going to layer this right on top of some white cardstock. So it's going to have a white border along the top, the bottom, and the left side. And then the right side is going to be flush to the edge of that white cardstock. But I'm going to add a black drawn border down the right side of the layout. And since the layout kind of comes off the right side of the page, I feel like adding that drawn border just seems pretty natural. Trimming this up so it looks good here. I just needed to move that yes over since I cut off a little bit off of that edge as well. I didn't want the yes going right up to the edge. I wanted the arrow to go right up to the edge, but not the yes. So I'm really liking the direction that this layout's going. I like the fact that Kalen is pointing towards the middle of the layout with the way that he's positioned in that photo. And then I also like how the big boy bike title at the bottom really makes an impact. And then I have the arrow pointing directly to it. And the white really jumps out against the teal background. Just a few more finishing touches and then I will be done with this layout. I'm now using that open banner and I'm trying to decide where else I can use it. I decided to go ahead and stamp it on some scrap paper that I have. I have just a tiny little bit of this gray paper left, and that is the same paper I used in the top little cluster. It's a very small cluster at the top, but I decided to go ahead and use that same little gray pattern paper here, and I'm going to stamp it and then just trim it off, and I will use a circle sticker with a star on it to kind of tack this little banner to the page. It's not truly tacked there that way, but visually it looks like instead of having the banner just float, it looks like it's been kind of tacked down by this star sticker. And I'm just adding the little caption that says first real big boy bike, and it's going to go right down here right under the title. One little tip for using stamped images like this on pattern papers, I like to go ahead and stamp out, 10 or 15 different ones, especially if you're using stamps that are small enough to use up some of your scraps, and just keep them in the stamp package with the stamp set itself. So I will use, stamped out a couple other little borders that you can see here, and those are going to be stored right there in the stamp set package as well. So next time I go to pull this out, I'll have those those stamped images in with that same set. So anyways, that finishes this layout. I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you go check out the Sonshine Stamp Company shop for these stamps as well as many others that you'll be able to use on your layouts as well. All right, thanks guys. Bye.